My sunder childhood friend pretends not to know me at school, but when we get home, she snuggles right into my blankets. Today in class, she was giving me the cold shoulder again. It was as if we were complete strangers. I am Felix. Because my parents went away on a business trip, I was forced to start living together with her. In front of others, she is an aloof, untouchable flower, but behind their backs, she is a clingy little goblin. And I am the only one who knows her secret. When she took a photo, the nightgown she accidentally left on my bed was captured in the background, and she sent it to me along with an angry emoji. I knew I was in trouble. You're grown up now, Felix. How about you explain the auxiliary line for this geometry problem? The sharp gaze of the entire class instantly darted toward the row near the window and the boy sitting at the third desk. I, Felix, slowly stood up in the silence. The sunlight happened to cast through the window, leaving dappled patches of light on my face. With no particular expression, I calmly looked up at the blackboard, rapidly sketching out the cuts and rotations of the shape in my mind. Through point A, construct a plane, draw a perpendicular line to plane alpha intersecting at point H, and connect them. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. Right as I was presenting the solution, I could feel a cold yet familiar gaze. It came from the front row of the class. It was my so-called childhood friend, the school's recognized ice-cold beauty, Stella. She was sitting up straight, holding an expensive mechanical pencil, her cold eyes fixed on the blackboard. As if I were just that geometry problem on the board, a part of some cold, mathematical equation that had absolutely nothing to do with her. Pretend, just keep pretending. Who would have thought? This high and mighty flower who wouldn't even spare me a single glance in front of the entire student body and faculty, last night, wearing a pink strawberry pajama set, was standing timidly at my bedroom door. Felix, I think the AC in my room is broken. It's a bit cold. At that time, I was wearing headphones, playing a game. Hearing that, I glanced at her and intentionally teased. Then go find the building management. Why are you telling me? Her lips immediately pouted, her fair, delicate little face overflowing with grievance, but her fingers gripped the edge of her pillow until her knuckles turned white. But it's too late now. Then turn on the heating mode. I did. It doesn't work. Her voice was as tiny as a mosquito, her eyes evasive. She stubbornly refused to look at me. Can I borrow your blanket for one night? I almost burst out laughing. The excuse she found was honestly more crooked than the auxiliary line I had just drawn on the board. In the end, I still couldn't help but take off my headphones, sigh helplessly, and lift a corner of my blanket. All right, stop acting, get in. Like a little kitten receiving a pardon, she instantly pinched the blanket and slid inside. She burrowed into my arms with practiced ease, even adjusting herself into a comfortable position. Pressing her slightly cool cheek against my chest, she let out a satisfied sigh. Felix, you're so warm. Look at this utter contrast. Right now in class, she was an untainted fairy, while I was just an ordinary guy, playing the role of a passerby who just happened to be decent at math. Sir, I have finished presenting the solution. Mr. Harrison nodded in satisfaction. Very good, clear thinking. Sit down. The moment I sat down, my gaze seemingly coincidentally swept past the front desk. Stella still maintained that icy expression, but the spinning motion of her pen paused for a barely noticeable beat. This little girl. The dismissal bell rang, and the classroom instantly erupted into noise. My best friend, Sam, immediately scooted over, squeezing his butt onto the seat next to me and nudging me with his elbow. Felix, you're amazing. I couldn't even understand reading that problem, and you figured out the solution with just a glance. Just basic operations, I replied dryly, starting to pack up the books on my desk. Right, Sam winked and dramatically lowered his voice. Look at our class president. Beautiful, top grades, and an aloof aura. She literally looks like the female lead straight out of a novel. Tell me, what kind of god-tier guy would it take to win her over? From the corner of my eye, I glanced toward Stella. She was slowly packing her books into her bag, but her pretty ears were slightly flushed red. The corners of my mouth curled into an imperceptible smile. I deliberately raised my voice and replied, Who knows? Maybe she likes a domineering CEO. Anyway, she wouldn't bat an eye at ordinary guys like us. Sam nodded, looking deeply agreeable. True, mere mortals like us can only dream about it. Right at this moment, Stella finished packing her bag. She stood up, looking straight ahead, and walked right past us. A faint scent of gardenia lingered on her, brushing past my nose like a gentle breeze. From beginning to end, she didn't bother to give me a single look, as if I were thin air. Sam was still marveling. See that? Felix, this is a true goddess. Even her walk exudes an ethereal vibe. I didn't say anything, just watched her back as she walked out of the classroom, thinking to myself, "Goddess, my foot! Who could possibly understand?" This school goddess who acts so arrogant around me, when she snuggled into my blankets last night, she accidentally left her precious strawberry pajamas right there on my bed. As soon as the dismissal bell rang, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out. Sam called out from behind, "Felix, want to go play basketball?" "No, got things to do at home." I didn't turn around, just waved my hand. Things to do at home, my ass. I had to hurry back. Otherwise, who knows what that arrogant girl would starve into. The relationship between Stella and me was simple enough to explain. Our families were old family friends. We grew up together in the same neighborhood. Later, my family moved here, and her parents, due to a job transfer, had to go abroad for 2 years, so they entrusted her to my parents' care. Who would have thought that last month, my parents also received a notice to go support a project in another province. Before leaving, my mom repeatedly urged and forced me to take good care of Stella. Thus, the two of us began this bizarre cohabitation. As soon as I got home, the moment I opened the door, I smelled something burning terribly. My heart skipped a beat, and I hurriedly dashed into the kitchen, only to see Stella wearing a cartoon bear apron, flailing around in front of a pot billowing with thick smoke. On her usually cold, stunningly beautiful little face, there were now 2 streaks of black soot. She looked just like a tabby cat caught red-handed trying to steal food, both a mess and incredibly cute. "Miss Stella, are you refining immortal pills in here?" I leaned against the kitchen doorframe, unable to hold back my teasing. Hearing my voice, her body stiffened. She whipped around and saw it was me. The aloof aura she had at school instantly vanished without a trace, replaced by a face full of grievance and frustration. "I wanted to make dinner for you," she pointed at the black, unidentified object in the pot. Her voice sounded like she was on the verge of tears. The book said it was really simple, but it just burned on its own. I looked at her about to cry expression, feeling both annoyed and amused. All right, it's my fault. I shouldn't have come home so late. I walked over, expertly turned off the stove, switched on the exhaust fan, and pulled her out of the kitchen area. "You go out first. Your face is covered in ash. Go wash up. I'll clean this." She obediently nodded. Like a child who had done something wrong, she lowered her head and walked out of the kitchen. I looked at this desolate crime scene and shook my head helplessly. This girl was good at everything, except her ability to take care of herself was practically zero. She could only bluff people with that pretty face of hers. By the time I finished cleaning the kitchen and whipped up 2 bowls of noodles to bring out, Stella had washed her face clean and changed into comfortable loungewear. She was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, hugging a pillow and watching TV. Seeing me walk out, her eyes lit up, and she immediately jumped off the sofa. She trotted over to the dining table and sat up straight. "Felix, the noodles you make are the best." She picked up her chopsticks, slurped a mouthful, and narrowed her eyes with an expression full of happiness. "You're quite the flatterer, huh? If it's good, eat more. Save me the trouble of you going into the kitchen to refine pills and burning the whole house down," I said grumpily. She stuck her tongue out, made a funny face, and then continued to wolf down her food. Looking at her completely unreserved demeanor, it was truly hard for me to associate her with the image of the icy school beauty. The next day, a huge crowd gathered in front of the school bulletin board. Sam and I squeezed our way in to take a look. It turned out to be the registration notice for the school's talent show. "Felix, you should sign up! With your looks, going up there and playing the guitar while singing a song, girls will definitely fall for you in droves," Sam encouraged, but I wasn't the least bit interested. I never liked these flashy things. Just then, a commotion broke out in the crowd. "Look, it's the school hot boy, Liam. Wow, Senior Liam is so handsome." I looked in the direction of the voices and saw a tall, handsome male student walking toward the bulletin board. A radiant smile bloomed on his face, causing the surrounding girls to squeal in waves. Liam, a senior, the captain of the school basketball team, dominated the school forum year-round at the #1 spot on the most wanted to date boys ranking. I didn't feel anything toward him. Just as I was about to drag Sam away, I realized that Liam's target didn't seem to be the bulletin board. He walked straight over to Stella. Stella happened to be here reading the notice too, with her best friend, Sophie, beside her. Stella didn't pay any attention to him. Liam's voice was deep and masculine. I'm representing the student council to invite you to participate in the school festival this time. Would you play a piano piece? The surroundings instantly fell dead silent. Everyone held their breath, looking at the goddess, witnessing the school's hot boy invite the school beauty. If this succeeds, it will definitely be the most explosive news of the year. Stella raised her head, her cold eyes landing on Liam's face. She indifferently shook her head. Sorry, I'm not interested. Her voice wasn't loud, but the rejection was extremely decisive, without a single extra word of hesitation. The smile on Liam's face froze. Clearly, he hadn't expected to be rejected so bluntly. Junior, don't you need to reconsider? This is a very good opportunity to show your talent. I said, I'm not interested. Stella's tone already carried a hint of impatience. Liam's expression was somewhat ugly, but he still tried to maintain his demeanor, preparing to say something else. Right at this moment, something nobody expected happened. Stella suddenly turned her head, her gaze precisely piercing through the crowd and landing straight on me. Then, amidst everyone's terrified stares, she raised a slender finger and pointed straight at Liam, who wasn't far away. Are you talking to me? No, to be exact, talking to Sam, who is standing next to me. That guy over there, could you please pass a message to that senior for me? Tell him to stay away from my man. Sam was petrified on the spot, his mouth hanging wide open enough to fit an egg. The surrounding crowd also immediately exploded. I'm frozen too! The script feels all wrong! The whole world seemed to have the mute button pressed. The very next second, it erupted wildly. Holy crap! What did I just hear? Stella said she has a boyfriend! Who is she talking about? Felix? No, that's not right. She was clearly talking to that chubby guy. Sam's brain was completely disconnected at this point. He turned his head mechanically, looking at me with the eyes of someone staring at an alien. His lips trembled, and he couldn't squeeze out a single word for half a day. As for the instigator, Stella, after dropping that bomb, didn't even bother to glance at Liam's ashen face. She grabbed her best friend Sophie, who was also staring wide-eyed, turned around, and walked away. Her retreating figure was truly dashing and decisive. I stood rooted to the spot, feeling countless gazes of curiosity, shock, and intense scrutiny pouring in from all directions. My scalp went numb. Sister, what kind of script are you playing? Even if you want to cut off unwanted romantic attention, you don't need to use this self-destructive method. And you even said it to Sam! Great! Now the whole school knows the ice-cold beauty has a mystery man, and I, the actual person involved, along with Sam, have become the biggest suspects. Liam's expression was now ugly to the extreme. He stared at me intently, his eyes containing incredibly complex hidden meanings, probing, unwillingness, and a flash of warning. Then he turned and left without a word. A drama of the school hot boy hitting on the universally adored beauty ended in such an incredibly bizarre way. For the entire afternoon after that, I sat in class feeling like I was sitting on pins and needles. Wherever I went, I felt like people were pointing and gossiping behind my back. Sam had completely descended into a state of madness. As soon as class ended, he grabbed my arm. Felix, tell me the truth! What exactly is the relationship between you and the class president? Is the man she mentioned actually you? Why did she say it to me? Could it be the person she likes is me? I slapped him on the forehead. Are you daydreaming in broad daylight? Get out of my sight. Then what on earth is going on? Sam clutched his head, his face full of despair. I'm under so much pressure right now. It feels like every guy in the school wants to slice my meat off. What was I supposed to say? If I said we just lived together, that it was a pure childhood friend relationship, would you believe it? Even I wouldn't believe it. After school, for the first time, I didn't go straight home, but ran 10 laps around the sports field. It wasn't until I was drenched in sweat that I felt the burning irritation in my heart dissipate a little. By the time I got home, it was already pitch black. The house was unusually quiet. The living room lights weren't on. Only the crack in Stella's bedroom door leaked out a little light. I changed my shoes, walked over to her door, and knocked a few times. There was no answer from Stella inside. I'm home, I added. Still, dead silence. Fine. Throwing a cold, cranky tantrum at me again, huh? At school, I had to carry that giant scapegoat pot for you, and when we get home, you're gonna give me attitude? The frustration in my heart flared up again. Fine, you're great. You're the best. I turned and walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge. It was completely empty. Great. No dinner either. I took a deep breath, grabbed a packet of instant noodles from the cupboard, boiled some water, and prepared to handle dinner myself. For that entire evening, neither of us paid any attention to the other. She didn't come out of her room, and I couldn't be bothered to go call her. This could be considered our very first real Cold War since we started living together. After finishing the instant noodles and taking a shower, I got into bed. The more I thought about it, the more annoyed I felt. What kind of ridiculous mess was this? While I was half asleep, not knowing how much time had passed, I suddenly heard an extremely faint click. My bedroom door was being opened from the outside. I immediately became alert, held my breath, and pretended to be fast asleep. But I opened my eyes into a tiny slit, stealthily looking toward the door. The moonlight pouring in from the window outlined a slender, petite silhouette. It was Stella. She was hugging her precious, inseparable little rabbit pillow, still wearing that pink strawberry pajama set from last night. She tiptoed to the side of my bed. I just lay there quietly, not moving a muscle. In the dark, I could even hear her slightly erratic breathing. After a long while, she used a volume softer than a mosquito, mixed with a nasally blocked voice, and spoke with extreme grievance. "Felix, are you asleep?" I didn't make a sound, continuing to play dead. She waited a moment longer, and seeing I had no reaction, she seemed to grow a little bolder. She reached out a finger and carefully poked my arm. "Are you mad?" I still ignored her. Now, she really seemed to panic. Her voice, carrying the sound of sobs, became clearer. "I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to today. That guy Liam kept pestering me. I panicked and just blurted it out. I don't even know why I said it to that chubby guy. My head was hot, and I just wanted you to hear it. Don't ignore me." She sniffled as she spoke, sounding incredibly pitiful. The tiny bit of anger in my heart had long been completely extinguished by this pitiful appearance of hers, leaving only helplessness and a bit of heartache. But I still decided to ignore her for a little while longer. Otherwise, this brat would never learn her lesson. Who would have thought that the next second, I felt the mattress dip slightly. She actually climbed onto the bed herself, and she brought that rabbit pillow with her. She cautiously lay down next to me, pulled a corner of the blanket over herself, and then tentatively pressed her slightly cool little hand against my back. "Felix, I'm hungry," she whispered weakly from behind my back, like she was sleepwalking. She let out a tiny whine. I abruptly flipped over and, in the dark, met her sparkling eyes, carrying a hint of timidity and flattery. "Oh, so you know how to be hungry? I thought our grand school beauty survived by drinking morning dew." Being scolded by me like that, her eyes immediately turned red. She pressed her lips tightly together, tears threatening to fall. I didn't mean to. I texted you, but you didn't reply." She justified herself in a small voice, sounding as soft as a squishy mochi. I took out my phone to check. On the screen, sure enough, there were 2 unread WeChat messages, both sent by her half an hour ago. The display name was Stella Never Forgets. "Felix, are you still mad? Stella knows she's wrong. I really know I'm wrong. Can you please pay a little attention to me?" I sighed inwardly, tossed the phone aside, and sat up from the bed. "All right, stop crying. You look so ugly." I rubbed her head. It felt incredibly soft. "What do you want to eat? I'll go make it for you." Hearing this, her eyes instantly lit up. The tears that were just welling up vanished in the blink of an eye. Her speed of changing faces was faster than flipping the pages of a book. "I want to eat the fried eggs with luncheon meat you make, and I want to drink hot milk too." She hugged my arm and started acting spoiled. "Eating so much greasy food in the middle of the night." My mouth complained, but my body was very honest as I threw off the covers and got out of bed. "Wait, right there." She nodded vigorously, hugging the blanket and sitting on the bed like a tiny, gluttonous hamster waiting to be fed, looking at me with sparkling eyes. I resignedly walked into the kitchen and rummaged through the fridge for ingredients. 15 minutes later, I brought a plate and a glass of hot milk back to the bedroom. She immediately cheered, took the plate, picked up a piece of fried egg, and started taking huge bites. Her cheeks puffed out roundly. Where was there even a trace of the ice-cold beauty? I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her wolf down her food, and shook my head helplessly. "Eat slowly. Nobody's fighting you for it." So good." She mumbled her praise, not forgetting to give me a thumbs up. Waiting until she had eaten her fill and let out a loud, satisfied burp, I put on a stern face and began to settle the score with her. "Tell me, what on earth was going on today? Did your brain short-circuit?" Knowing she was in the wrong, she shrank her neck back, her voice dropping to a whisper again. "I told you, that Liam guy was too annoying. I just wanted to find an excuse to make him give up. Then you could have said you already had someone you liked, or just flat out said you were engaged. Why did you have to drag me down into the water with you, and even say it to Sam? You did it on purpose, didn't you? At that moment, the first person I thought of was you. She twisted the hem of her shirt, her eyes darting away. Besides, I just wanted to let others know you are my man. By the last sentence, her voice was as thin as silk, almost inaudible. Her cheeks also flushed with two rosy clouds. My heart stirred slightly. That nameless fire had completely vanished, replaced by a strange emotion I couldn't quite put into words. All right. I cleared my throat to hide my awkwardness. Next time something like this happens, you are not allowed to act recklessly. Hear me? She nodded obediently. Also, hurry up and go back to your room to sleep. I pointed toward the door. Who would have expected that after hearing this? Not only did she not move a muscle, she actually hugged the blanket tighter, shaking her head like a rattle drum. No way. Why not? I'm scared to sleep alone. You're this old and you're still scared? I genuinely didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Right at this moment, a loud boom echoed outside the window. A flash of lightning tore through the night sky, immediately followed by deafening, rolling thunder. Stella let out a scream and, like a terrified rabbit, lunged fiercely into my arms, trembling all over. Thunder! Lightning! Her voice was shaking too. My body stiffened. I could clearly feel her soft body and her rapidly beating heart. The rain outside the window grew heavier. Raindrops as big as beans pattered against the glass window. The thunder also rang out wave after wave, growing louder and louder. The little girl in my arms trembled even more violently. Felix, I'm scared. What else could I do? I could only open my arms and gently pat her back, like I was coaxing a child. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I'm here. She nuzzled into my chest, finding a more reassuring position. A timid voice reached me. Felix, I'm scared of thunder. Can we sleep together tonight? This girl had been afraid of thunderstorms since she was little. Whenever it rained, she had to cling to someone. I let out a sigh, completely giving up on the idea of chasing her back to her room. Go to sleep. She hummed in agreement and really didn't move anymore. But I didn't have the slightest bit of sleepiness. Looking down at her peaceful sleeping face, her long eyelashes drooped down, casting a small shadow beneath her eyelids. Her delicate, high-bridged nose, her naturally pink lips slightly pouted. As if possessed by a ghost, I reached out my hand, my fingertips gently brushing across her smooth cheek. This girl didn't seem to be that annoying after all. The next day was a radiantly sunny day. The brilliant sunshine made it seem as if the terrifying thunderstorm from last night was nothing but a dream. Stella and I walked side by side on the way to school, maintaining a safe distance. After yesterday's drama, her popularity at school didn't decrease. Instead, it skyrocketed. The various speculations about her mystery man had become the hottest post on the forum. The sheer number of versions could have filled a 1,000,000-word novel. As for Sam and me, being the top two prime suspects, we were enjoying an unprecedented level of attention. Stella, however, acted as if nothing had happened, still maintaining that cold, indifferent face. She completely ignored the pointing and whispering around her. I could only feel that her footsteps seemed intentionally slowed down, always keeping pace with me. Arriving at the school gate, she suddenly stopped. What's wrong? I asked. She took out a delicate bento box from her backpack and shoved it into my hands. For you. After saying that, without waiting for my reaction, she quickened her pace and walked straight through the school gate without looking back, leaving me with an arrogant view of her back. I looked down at the bento box in my hands. It was still slightly warm. Did this girl change her personality? During morning recess, the entire student body gathered on the sports field for exercises. After that was free activity time. I was dragged by Sam to the canteen to buy water. When we came back, I happened to see Stella. They were sitting by the edge of the grass field resting. She was sitting with her best friend, Sophie, holding a bottle of mineral water, taking small sips. Her elegant posture looked like she was shooting a commercial. Right then, the party crasher appeared again. Liam led a few members of the basketball team, hugging a basketball, and walked straight toward Stella. Junior Stella. A perfect smile bloomed on Liam's face. At a glance, he didn't seem the least bit affected by yesterday's rejection. There's a game for my team this weekend. You should come watch and cheer. I've already saved a front row seat for you. The surrounding atmosphere instantly filled with the scent of gossip again. Everyone's eyes focused over there, waiting to see how the school beauty would react. Stella didn't even bother to lift her eyelids, just focused on drinking her own water, completely treating Liam as thin air. Liam's smile became a little stiff. A teammate standing next to him spoke up. "Junior, this is the first time our captain has ever actively invited a girl to watch a game. Give him some face." Stella finally reacted. She screwed the cap back onto the bottle, stood up, and her cold eyes gave Liam a glance. Her tone was flat, but it carried an undeniable rejection. Not free. Saying that, she turned and prepared to leave. Wait. Liam still didn't give up, calling out to stop her. "Junior, yesterday you said you." He hadn't even finished his sentence before Stella did something that petrified the entire schoolyard once again. She turned around, strode on her long legs, completely ignoring the intensely curious stares of everyone, and walked straight toward me. Sam, standing next to me, was so tense he was stumbling over his own feet. "Felix, she's coming over. She's getting closer. She's not going to say something utterly shocking again, is she?" I was a bit nervous, too. I didn't know what this little girl was up to this time. Under the witness of all the teachers and students, especially Liam and his gaze that practically wanted to spew fire, Stella walked right up to me and stopped. Then, she did something even more dramatic than her public declaration yesterday, shocking me 100 times over. She took the mineral water bottle she had just been drinking from and held it out in front of me. Her voice wasn't loud, and it even carried a barely detectable hint of nervousness. But amidst the dead silence of the sports field, it transmitted clearly into everyone's ears. I looked down at the water bottle. A bit of clear water still clung to the rim of the bottle, and I could even smell the faint, signature gardenia scent that belonged to her. My brain went blank for about 3 seconds. What does this mean? An indirect kiss? And in front of the entire school? I could feel Liam's gaze on my back turn, from spewing fire into ice daggers sharp enough to kill. The jaws of the surrounding onlookers dropped to the floor, completely losing their ability to speak. Sam, standing next to me, sucked in a sharp breath of cold air, making a noise as loud as a broken bellows. Seeing me hesitate to take it, Stella seemed to get a bit anxious. Her fair cheeks flushed with a suspicious layer of red. She pushed the water bottle forward a little more, her tone carrying a hint of urging and spoiled insistence. "Hurry up and take it. My arm is getting tired." At this very moment, I finally realized that resisting was useless. I silently reached out and took the water bottle. Under her tense and expectant gaze, I unscrewed the cap, tilted my head back, and took a gulp. Whoa! The crowd completely exploded. That very day, the entire school forum crashed entirely. There was only one title pinned to the very top in huge, bold, blood-red text. "Shocking news. The ice-cold beauty and the mystery male lead publicly share an indirect kiss on the sports field. School hot boy Liam's face turns ashen on the spot." Comments underneath built up thousands of levels in just a short half hour. The server was directly overloaded until it crashed. From that day on, the suspect identities of Sam and me finally had a clear direction. 99% of people firmly believed that I was indeed the mystery man hiding behind the curtain. And I, officially transforming from an unremarkable, ordinary student, in one step, became the public enemy of all the male students in the school. Walking on the street, I could clearly feel those gazes filled with resentment and extreme unwillingness stabbing into my body like daggers. The way Sam looked at me also shifted from gossipy to full-blown worship. "Felix, you're my absolute bro. How exactly did you do it? Quick, teach me a few moves." I was too lazy to pay attention to him. I had only one thought in my mind. When I got home, I definitely had to properly teach that troublemaking Stella a lesson. However, when I got home that evening, just as I was preparing to furiously confront her, I discovered that the dining table was already set with 4 dishes and 1 soup. Although 2 of the dishes were visibly a bit burnt, the presentation was still passably acceptable. Stella took off her apron, looking exactly like a little kitten waiting for its owner's praise, looking at me with eager eyes. "Felix, you're home? I worked really hard to learn how to cook today." I looked at her little face with the words, "Praise me," written all over it, and the words that had reached my lips were swallowed back down. It seemed this lesson would have to be skipped. For the next few days, time passed in relative peace. At school, Stella still maintained that aloof, "I don't know you" image with me, but occasionally during breaks, she would sneak a carton of milk onto my desk, or when I dozed off, she would gently poke my back with the end of her pen. These small gestures were both secretive and incredibly sweet. Our relationship had also become an open secret in the school. Everyone had a tacit understanding. It was just that no one dared to bring it out into the light. Until that Friday afternoon. That day was the final match for the school basketball team. The opponent was the neighboring high school, No. 11. The match was fiercely contested. Our school was continuously trailing. During halftime, the atmosphere was somewhat heavy. Right at this moment, Liam did something that completely exceeded everyone's expectations, including mine. He held a megaphone and walked to the center of the basketball court. His gaze pierced through the entire court, locking onto Stella sitting in the bleachers. "Stella!" His voice echoed through the megaphone across the entire gymnasium. Everyone fell silent, simultaneously turning to look at Stella. Stella was also stunned, clearly not expecting Liam to pull this stunt. I sat not far from her. My heart thumped, and I had a bad premonition. Sure enough, the next second, Liam took a deep breath and, using all the strength in his body, shouted loudly, "I like you! Be my girlfriend!" Boom! The entire gymnasium was like a nuclear bomb had just been dropped. Screams, whistles, and gossiping voices instantly drowned out everything. A public confession, and from the school hot boy to the school beauty. This was absolutely mega explosive news. Everyone's eyes acted like spotlights, focusing on Stella's delicate little face, which had already turned pale without a drop of blood. She seemed to be shocked by this sudden turn of events, her body freezing in place, unable to move. Her usual calm and composure completely vanished. I saw her fingers clutching tightly onto the hem of her shirt, her fingertips turning white from the force. Seeing she had no reaction, Liam called out again, "Stella, give me a chance, okay?" His eyes were filled with absolute confidence. From his perspective, no girl could refuse such a grand and romantic public confession. However, he miscalculated one thing. Stella had never been an ordinary girl. Under the scrutiny of everyone, in the eyes brimming with Liam's expectations, Stella finally moved. But she didn't walk towards Liam, nor did she say a single word. She abruptly stood up from her seat, and then, like a frightened little deer, before anyone could even react, she made the most instinctual decision, completely outside of everyone's predictions. She actually turned around and crashed straight into my arms. Her entire body hid completely behind my back. Her small hands tightly gripped my t-shirt. Her body was still slightly trembling as she buried her face into my back, using her actions to declare her choice to the entire stadium. At that moment, the whole world fell silent. Standing in the middle of the basketball court, Liam's confidence and the smile on his face froze little by little, then shattered to pieces, finally leaving only infinite humiliation and gloom. As for me, feeling the soft, trembling body behind my back and listening to her rapid breathing right by my ear, I sighed helplessly in my heart for the nth time. Well, this is just great. There is no way to hide this anymore. Nobody remembered the final result of that basketball game. All everyone remembered was that earth-shattering halftime confession and that mind-blowing plot twist of an ending. I didn't even clearly see how Liam eventually left the court. I only heard that he didn't score a single basket in the second half. Our school also lost the final match. From that day forward, the relationship between Stella and me was no longer a well-kept secret, but was thoroughly nailed to the golden board of the entire school's gossip history. I, Felix, a thoroughly unremarkable 11th grade student, was officially recognized by the whole school as the man who conquered the ice-cold beauty. Walking on the street, greeting me were no longer jealous, dagger-like glares, but gazes filled with awe, curiosity, and a trace of complex sympathy. Awe for my methods, curiosity about my background, and sympathy for my future, as I would very likely face a manhunt from Liam's fan club. Stella also completely abandoned, pretending not to know me at school. Although she still wouldn't actively talk to me, she would wait for me at the school gate every morning, then quietly follow half a meter behind me, walking into the classroom together. She would sneakily push her exercise book onto my desk, with the problems she didn't know how to solve circled in red pen. During PE free activity time, she would hug a water bottle and sit by the basketball court watching me play. These wordless gestures carried more lethal power than any spoken words. Sam was completely paralyzed by now. He sighed and lamented to me every day. "Felix, I always thought love had to be this grand, earth-shattering thing. Now I understand, the quiet dogs are the ones that bite the hardest. I couldn't be bothered with him because I was busy explaining problems to Stella. This angle equals that angle because alternate interior angles are equal. Understand?" She nodded her head, half understanding. Her long eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. I suspected she wasn't actually listening to a single word at all, but was just enjoying the process. Our days passed by one in this semi-public sweetness under the watchful eyes of the entire school. I even started to develop an illusion, feeling that days like this were actually pretty great, until that weekend afternoon. That day, Stella and I agreed to go to a bookstore in the city center to buy some reference books. To avoid unnecessary curiosity and attention, we deliberately left the apartment complex gate one after the other. The only advantage of this old apartment complex we lived in was its tranquility. I walked in front, and Stella followed behind at a distance of over 10 meters. Just as I was about to step out of the complex gate, my peripheral vision suddenly caught a familiar figure. It was the gossip queen of our class, the girl nicknamed Roman Inquisitor, Chloe. She was with her mother, carrying 2 large plastic bags filled with vegetables, walking out from the building opposite ours. My heart skipped a beat. Crap, why does she live here? I instinctively wanted to speed up my pace and pretend I didn't see her, but it was too late. Felix! Chloe had clearly spotted me and enthusiastically greeted me. I had no choice but to bite the bullet, stop walking, and give an awkward smile. What a coincidence! Do you live here too? Yeah! Her gaze swept over me, and then she saw Stella standing not far behind me. In that instant, I saw it incredibly clearly. A brilliant, blinding light flashed in Chloe's eyes, on par with discovering a new continent. Her gossip radar instantly activated. Class president! She waved enthusiastically towards Stella. Do you live in this apartment complex too? What a coincidence! My mom and I just moved here today to live at my grandma's place. Stella's footsteps froze on the spot. On her usually emotionless little face, a trace of panic appeared for the first time. I could feel the situation developing in an extremely terrible direction. Chloe's gaze darted back and forth between the two of us continuously. That expression was clearly saying, "Understood? I understand everything. Are you two going somewhere together?" She asked, probing, wearing an ill-intentioned smile. No! Yes! The two of us spoke up almost simultaneously. One categorically denied it. The other mumbled a hesitant admission. The surrounding air instantly sank into dead silence. The smile on Chloe's face became even more profound. The mother standing next to her also looked at us with a "kids these days are wild" look in her eyes. I looked at Stella's little face, which had turned beet red from nervousness and embarrassment, and groaned inwardly. We're doomed. This time, we are truly doomed. The fact that the school beauty and I are living together seems impossible to hide anymore. That weekend, I lived in constant fear and trepidation. I could almost imagine what kind of stormy tempest I would have to face when returning to school on Monday. That walking megaphone, Chloe, would absolutely take the earth-shattering news of Felix and Stella suspected of living together and broadcast it to every corner of the school with added embellishments. When that time came, what awaited us probably wouldn't just be the gossip of our classmates, but a friendly interrogation from the dean of discipline. It's all your fault! At home, Stella curled up in the corner of the sofa, hugging a pillow and angrily blaming me. It's because you walked too fast. I couldn't keep up, so she saw me. Her skill of playing the victim first had reached a master level. My fault? I chuckled dryly. Who dawdled forever before going out? Who spent half an hour picking clothes? Who had to check their reflection in the storefront windows every 2 steps? I choked off her words, leaving her speechless. Her little mouth pouted, and she started resorting to her ultimate move. I'm feeling wronged, but I refused to say it. I sighed, walked over, and sat down next to her. Think about what we're going to do on Monday. What else can we do? She buried her face in the pillow, her voice gloomy. At worst, we just admit it. I was stunned for a moment. Admit what? Admit that we live together? Yeah. Oh, Princess, do you know what it means for 2 high schoolers to live together? If the school finds out, it'd be a miracle if they didn't break both our legs. And if Auntie finds out, she'd definitely fly back from abroad and string me up for a beating. Then what should we do? She finally panicked, lifting her head from the pillow and looking at me with red eyes. Seeing her panicked and helpless appearance, the slight annoyance in my heart was suppressed. Forget it. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up. It's fine. I rubbed her head. Soldiers will block the enemy. Water will cover the earth. If we really get asked, just say our families are neighbors and you only occasionally come over to my place to play. Remember? She nodded, half understanding. However, I was still too naive. I underestimated the speed at which rumors spread and overestimated the school's reaction time. We couldn't even hold out until Monday. Sunday evening, I was in the kitchen cooking cola chicken wings, a dish specifically requested by Stella. The doorbell suddenly rang. Felix, go open the door! Stella called out from the living room. She was curled up comfortably on the sofa watching anime. My hands were covered in sauce, so it wasn't convenient. I yelled back, "You go get it yourself! Oh, come on, you go! I'm watching the exciting part!" She started acting spoiled again. I had no other choice but to wipe my hands on my apron and go out to see who it was. Looking through the peephole out the door, my heart instantly ran half cold. The person standing outside the door was none other than our homeroom teacher, Miss Lawson, known as the Extinction Nun. And standing next to her were Chloe, with a smug face, and Liam, whose face was ashen. Great. Did you all form a team to come catch us in the act? My brain went into overdrive. I immediately lowered my voice and called into the living room. Stella, hurry up and go back to your room. Do not come out. Stella, who was in the living room, was startled by me. Although she didn't know what happened, she obediently went, "Oh," grabbed her bag of snacks, and scrambled into her bedroom. I took a deep breath, adjusted my facial expression, pretended like nothing was wrong, and opened the door. "Miss Lawson, what brings you here?" My face still maintained the standard polite smile of a good student. "Hello, Chloe. Senior Liam. Please, come in." Miss Lawson pushed up her glasses, her sharp gaze sweeping around the living room behind my back. "Felix, we won't be coming in." Her voice was very stern. "I received a report from a student saying that you and Stella in our class have an improper relationship and are even living together." My heart sank, but outwardly I remained calm. "Miss Lawson, this is a complete misunderstanding. Stella and I are just ordinary classmates. How could we be living together?" Liam, who had been silent this whole time, suddenly sneered, pointing at the shoe rack by my feet. "Then whose women's shoes are those?" I looked down, and my head buzzed as if it had exploded. Next to the shoe rack sat a pair of small pink rabbit slippers. They were Stella's. That girl ran off so fast just now that she actually left her slippers behind. This was truly a case of yellow mud dropping into your pants. Even if it's not poop, people will say it's poop. Seeing this, Chloe immediately added fuel to the fire. "Miss! Yesterday I saw with my own eyes the two of them coming out of this apartment complex together. What's more, I even heard a girl's voice inside Felix's house. I really wanted to slap her across the face." Miss Lawson's expression had become extremely ugly. She glared at me, enunciating every word clearly. "Felix, call Stella out here. The two of you must explain yourselves clearly to me." I stood at the door, feeling like a criminal being brought out for public execution. The sound of the TV in the living room was still playing. It was Stella's favorite anime. The light, cheerful opening song sounded incredibly ironic right now. I knew this hurdle couldn't be dodged anymore. Just as I was about to open my mouth and take all the blame onto myself, the bedroom door behind me clicked and opened. Stella walked out from inside. Stella was wearing a simple white t-shirt and denim shorts, her face devoid of any expression. However, in those clear eyes lay an unprecedented determination. She didn't bother looking at Miss Lawson, nor did she spare a glance at Chloe or Liam. She walked straight over to stand beside me, shoulder to shoulder. Then she looked up at me, using a very soft voice, but loud enough for everyone outside the door to hear clearly, and said, "Felix, don't be afraid. I'm here with you." At that moment, I felt a certain place in my heart seem to be gently nudged by something. It felt both sour and soft. Seeing Stella actually walk out from inside my house, Miss Lawson was so angry she almost couldn't breathe. "Stella, you two have truly disappointed me too much." Chloe's face clearly showed unconcealed, gloating, while Liam's eyes were like cold ice darts, glaring intensely at the two of us. "Miss Lawson." Stella finally shifted her gaze to the homeroom teacher, her voice not loud but extremely calm. "Things are not what everyone thinks. Not what we think? Then how is it? The two of you, in the middle of the night, a young man and woman alone in the same house. How else do you want to explain it?" Miss Lawson's tone was extremely harsh. Stella took a deep breath, seeming to have made a momentous decision. "My parents had to go abroad for work. Before leaving, they entrusted me to Felix's parents' care. But Felix's parents also went on a business trip last month, so that's why I'm staying here." She paused for a moment, glanced over the three people outside the door, and continued, "We are just living under the same roof, taking care of each other. If even this is considered an improper relationship, then I have nothing left to say." This explanation was perfectly logical and well-founded. Miss Lawson was stunned for a moment, clearly not expecting the situation to be like this. Chloe was a bit unwilling to accept it and wanted to say something else, but she was glared at strictly by Miss Lawson. Liam's expression fluctuated continuously. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said unwillingly, "Even if you two are living together, then how do you explain what happened between you two at school?" This was the crux of the problem. Living together could be explained away, but dating during the sensitive period of high school was absolutely a forbidden zone. Everyone's eyes once again focused on us. I was just about to open my mouth and use the flimsy excuse of, "We are just close childhood friends," to gloss over the matter, but unexpectedly, Stella was faster. She did something that I would never be able to forget for the rest of my life. Under everyone's astounded gazes, she reached out her hand and tightly grasped mine. Her hand was slightly cold, still coated in a thin layer of sweat, but she gripped it very tightly. Then, she raised her chin high like a proud swan, meeting Liam's completely unbelieving gaze, and declared, word for word, clearly and distinctly, "I like him. I like Felix. This has nothing to do with whether we live together or not. At school, everything I do is because I like him." Her voice echoed in the quiet hallway. Every word was like a stone thrown into a lake, creating thousands of ripples. Miss Lawson was completely dumbfounded. Chloe's mouth was wide open enough to fit a light bulb. Liam's face was drained of every drop of blood. As for me, feeling the softness and firmness transmitted from the palm of her hand and looking at her side profile, flushed red from nervousness but incredibly brave, I felt my heart was about to leap right out of my chest. This silly girl, does she know what kind of consequences she will face by saying these words? How did things end that night? I don't quite remember anymore. All I recall is that Miss Lawson ultimately didn't say anything more. She just gave me a deep look and then led those two stunned instigators away. The moment the door closed, Stella's body went limp, leaning entirely against me. It was only then that I realized the back of her shirt was soaked in cold sweat. "You?" I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what to say. "Felix," she buried her face in my chest. Her voice was tiny. "Was I brave?" "Yeah," I hugged her, nodding vigorously. "Very brave. Then do you like such a brave me?" I didn't answer, just tightened my arms around her. That night, our class chat group completely blew up, because less than 10 minutes after Miss Lawson left, a new message notification popped up in the group. It was sent by Stella. She posted a photo. In the photo were two hands tightly intertwined. One was mine, one was hers. Beneath the photo, there was a line of text, and she tagged all the members in the group. "Stella never forgets. At everyone, Felix is my boyfriend." On Monday morning, when Stella and I walked into the school campus together again, the whole world seemed to have changed. Greeting us were no longer gossiping, pointing, or whispering, but a bizarre silence. Everyone who saw us paused for a moment, then quietly parted to make way. Their eyes were filled with scrutiny and admiration for this sacred love. That post on Stella's WeChat moments acted like an underground bomb, blowing away all the toxic rumors into thin air. Simple, direct, domineering. This was very Stella. Our homeroom teacher, Miss Lawson, actually broke precedent and didn't call us in for a talk. She just threw a few complicated glances our way during class. Chloe kept her head down the entire day, not daring to look at us. As for Liam, ever since that day, he had taken a long leave of absence and never showed up at school again. I heard he transferred schools. A storm that swept through the entire school ended in such a dramatic fashion, just like a stage play. And Stella and I were finally, officially, and rightfully together. Well, maybe not entirely officially and rightfully. For instance, right now during recess, I was resting my head on my desk, dozing off, when I felt someone poking my arm. I opened my eyes and saw Stella, her face flushed, pushing a notebook over. On it was a line of delicate, small handwriting. "Let's walk home together after school." I looked at it and wanted to laugh. I picked up a pen and wrote a reply directly underneath. "Don't we walk home together every day?" Her face turned even redder after reading it. She bent over and wrote in the notebook, "We leave the school gate together." Looking at her expecting yet nervous appearance, my heart softened. I wrote a huge "okay" below it. Upon seeing it, her eyes instantly brightened. The corners of her mouth curled up uncontrollably, and then she hastily lowered her head, pretending to read a book, but her slightly trembling shoulders betrayed the joy in her heart. After school, I packed up my bag and stood waiting for her at the classroom door. She dawdled her way out, standing shoulder to shoulder with me. The classmates around us all looked at me with "we understand" expressions in their eyes, then smiled knowingly and walked away. "Let's go," I said. she replied softly. We walked side by side through the campus, bathed in the setting sun. The shadows of the two of us were stretched very, very long. This was the first time we had openly walked together like this. Her footsteps were very small, and she walked very slowly, as if she wanted to drag out this journey just a little bit longer. Arriving at a secluded corner, for some unknown reason, I suddenly stopped. What's wrong? She looked at me in confusion. I didn't say anything, just held out my hand. Her face instantly flushed, completely red, like a ripe apple. She hesitated for a moment, but still placed her small hand gently into my palm. Soft, slightly cool. I tightly gripped her hand and continued walking. Her head was lowered, almost glued to her chest, but the smile on the corners of her lips couldn't be hidden no matter how hard she tried. It was even sweeter than the sunset glow on the horizon. As we neared the school gate, the crowd started to thicken. She suddenly felt a little nervous and tugged lightly at my hand. Felix, holding hands is fine. She lowered her head, her voice as tiny as a mosquito. But let's not let our classmates see. I looked at her shy yet stubborn appearance and couldn't hold back a laugh. All right, I'll listen to you. I let go of her hand. Hearing that, she immediately hid her hand behind her back like a startled rabbit. But in the very next second, she stuck out her pinky finger and carefully hooked it around mine. At the school gate, with people coming and going under the sprawling sunset, we used this most childish yet most secret way to hold hands. I know the story that belongs to us has only just begun. Who could possibly understand? This ice-cold school beauty who acts so arrogant in front of the entire school when we're alone is a cowardly little girl who blushes just from holding hands. But that little coward is mine now.